Merry meet. Welcome back to the series on the flow of the Rite, and this video is a listing of the flow of the Rite. I'm going to read all the things I'm going to cover in the series. Bear with me. Establishing intent, constructing the temple, reaving, separation and purification, the return, opening to what is greater, honoring the altar, calling your matron or your patron, dedicating the altar, abeyance, the blessing and cleansing of the elemental symbols, 3 times round the offering of the elements, 3 times round asperging and cleansing, blessing of the blade, 3 times round casting the circle, the reflection, the pinnacle call to the guardians, the call to the elements, the expansion of the body, elemental, the invocation of goddess and god, honoring the old ones, the ancient call, calling to your spirit guides, the charges of the gods, raising energy, the working of the Rite, cakes and wine, the quiet, your spirit guide devotion, devotion to the ancient ones, devotion to your matron and patron, devotion to God and goddess, assimilation of the body, elemental, devotion to the guardians, taking back the circle, reverse grounding, declared ending, deconstructing the temple after work, and living in accord. Yes, this series is going to cover every one of those things, which is why in any given video I will list in the text box what's covered in that video. Let's talk about that list a little bit though. Were some of you thinking, holy Hannah, if not something more blunt, Annie? And you're probably thinking, yeah, it's Annie, of course it's going to go on and all those things will be part of it. Here's what it's all about though. It's deciding what's going to be part of it for you. It is learning new things, it is trying new things, it might be revisiting things you stopped doing and now aren't sure why you stopped doing. You might like some things, you might not like some things might be personally meaningful and some might not be. If nothing else, your curiosity will be satisfied about everything I do. I'm a good person to do this in the sense that if this is ritual out here, in my experience of it, yours might be something like this. There'll be parts of this that will resonate with you and parts of this which won't be of anything more than a curiosity to you. And it might seem a lot because there's a lot to do. And it's important to know that when you have the flow of your own Rite set and established, when you repeat the pattern and you do the same thing over and over again, there is no time in the feeling of how the flow of the Rite progresses. You just evenly and smoothly go from one thing to the other. You don't have to stop and think and plot and plan, and there's a great ease in the flow of the Rite, even for someone who has a lot of things on their buffet of things they might do in a Rite. Those of you who really wanted a serious course of study, you may want to stay along with me on this and journal and stay in touch with me. Talk to me by email, which unfortunately is the only way I do make myself available. Feel free to be in touch and discuss. Keep a record of some kind. If some of this is new to you, make notes of it. If nothing else, because you'll draw a line through it when you go, interesting. It's nice to know some people do that, but it's not for me. But there's a certain amount of fearlessness involved in building your own personal flow of the Rite. Those core things you're already doing. And you want to make sure they're still part of whatever you do, whether I mention them or not, because they're part of your own pattern. You know that pattern, and the universe knows that pattern. There's nothing wrong with putting something in to see how it feels. Trying it a time or a few times and deciding whether it suits you, your practice, your work, even your gods. There's nothing wrong with trying something and taking it out, but there is responsibility into giving it your all, to experience new things and try new things. And then with an open mind to absorb them into your practice or to eliminate them as an experiment. I talked to you in the first introductory video about ritual is a story. It's a complete story from beginning to end. The story is not the same for any two of us. Even if we practice what looks to be exactly the same thing, what's happening in our hearts, what's happening in our mind, what's happening energetically is unique to each of us individually. So, all those things I listed, which you'll come to be more familiar with as we go through the length of these videos, they're the chapters in that longer story. But you will assemble your own story by the chapters you already know well, you practice, and which are part of who you are and what you do. And if you're curious to add any new chapters to your book, you'll decide if it becomes a permanent addition or just something you gave some thought to or tried and moved on from. That's a little feel for what's going to come as we discuss all the beautiful components of the flow of the Rite. I wish you mirth and reverence. Murray Part.